Welcome to Golf Smarter Mulligans, your second chance to gain insight and advice from the best instructors featured on the Golf Smarter podcast. Great golf instruction never gets old. Our interview library features hundreds of hours of game improvement conversations like this that are no longer available in any podcast app.
I want you to really get inside your body, and as you're swinging and hitting a ball, there might be a sensation, there might be a pinching feeling, there might be a tight feeling, or there might be pain at certain points. You can start narrowing down what's causing that pain in your golf swing, even without having a teaching pro. Think of your body for a second. So when you hit that ball, are you experiencing pain at impact? If it's at impact, is it a wrist? Is it a knee, a hip, lower back? And then from there, take a look at the position your body's at. Kind of slow down a little bit and say, wow, my hips, they seem all kind of jammed up. And then, boy, that back hurts right there on that lower right side. Well, your hips aren't clearing, your hips aren't rotating. But I would say if you're getting back into the swing of things, you truly have to go to the range at least one time and just casually, leisurely hit some balls just to kind of see what you got, see how your body responds to it. And then typically the next day, you'll know from a conditioning standpoint if you got something wrong.
With another interview from the archives of Golf Smarter, here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to Golf Smarter for members only, Mike, and welcome back to Golf Smarter.
Thank you, Fred. I appreciate it.
It's been a long time since you've been on this show.
I think years.
Yeah, I think you were like the first 6 months or something of Golf Smarter back in early 2006.
Oh, my God. So that's 6 years. Oh,
yeah,
my God.
I'm sorry. That's my bad. So what is? Give me an update. What is going on with your golf life?
Oh, everything's great. I mean, even the personal golf life's good. Played about a 6 handicap now, trying to get down to a scratch. That's good. Working on lots of different things in helping golfers improve their game and their swing. So not only fitness now, but working on golf swing biomechanics, which is that's my passion anyway. So it's about time that I start talking about biomechanics in the golf swing. So lots of fun stuff.
Excellent. So I know I'm absolutely fascinated. Are you a certified PGA instructor?
No. I'm the I don't want to call it the backyard pro, but no, I'm a fitness guy by trade, so I'm a certified golf fitness professional. But now with the golf swing biomechanics, that's something that I've got a degree in exercise physiology and biomechanics from Oregon State University back in '87. Mm-hmm. So that is my background, and that's what my degree's in. So why I kind of swayed off into just fitness, I don't know. Although fitness, but now I'm kind of coming full circle and doing what I should have did, when I graduated college, which is working on the biomechanics of the golf swing.
Well, maybe you should have taken English classes. But so I'm curious, when you said you were down to a 6 handicap, first of all, congratulations. That's
thank you.
Very awesome. But secondly, how long have you been playing and where did you start with that?
I picked up golf late in life. I was doing track and field, and I almost made the Olympic Games in '88 for the decathlon.
Wow.
Yeah, so I took it to the highest level you could take it. So there was no room for golf in my life then.
No.
And so I would say I picked up in probably 1990. So I was like 30 years old, something like that. So,
puppy.
it's
a mere puppy in my book.
Puppy. Yeah, right. No,
hey, I started when I was 40, so shut up.
Oh, there you go. Well, these kids nowadays, they're born with a club in their hand. I mean, they're playing from age 3 on up. So, and I had a lot of ingrained bad habits when I first started. I was a big slicer of the golf ball. I swung at it way too hard. I didn't have a good grip. Nothing was good about my game, but I just became enamored with this dang game. And for the last 15, 16, 17 years, I've studied the golf swing. I mean, I literally know every movement of every joint in the human body throughout the entire swing, and I can swear by that.
Oh, that's really interesting because a lot of instructors will come on and talk about every movement of every swing of the club head. But I like the idea of talking about what the body is doing as well, because I think that is an element that is, I don't know if it's not discussed, but it's really not focused on, and I think that a lot of golfers don't really care. I remember asking a friend of mine if he stretches or does any exercise before golf, and he goes, "Yeah, I walk to the car."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've heard all the lines. Yeah. Yeah. But what's interesting is that golfers need to realize the body swings a club. Right. So, I mean, that's the thing you need to work on first and the body could be anything from stretching, strengthening, and biomechanics, trying to understand what's the right way my body moves through the golf swing. And obviously, for most high handicappers who are really struggling to hit a solid golf shot, their body is not moving properly. So the minute it starts moving out of whack, compensations kick in. And then timing kicks in, and then all of a sudden you've got a swing that once or twice around you might hit a solid shot and it feels just beautiful, and then the other 88 shots, 90 shots are horrible. So and that goes back to learning how the body moves throughout the golf swing. If people backtrack just a little bit and figure this out, the right wrist should do this, and I don't want to say that everybody needs to become super analytical like I am, which is that's a fault of mine, but at the same time there are some constants in the golf swing, and the joints have to move a certain way. Now, what I like to say is that there's lots of swing methods out there. Obviously, go on the internet and you'll find 100 of them. There's
That's
lots
all?
of Yeah, right. And there's lots of ways to swing a golf club, but there are certain constants in there that have to be intact. Through impact, the joints have to be moving a certain way to square the club face and hit a solid golf shot, and that has nothing to do with swing method. That has everything to do with biomechanics.
Interesting. So let's touch on that for a little bit. And actually, I just want to say that your website, performbettergolf.com, I think it even addresses more of the physical than the swing mechanics. Just by saying perform better. I like that a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, that site's evolving a lot, and now we've gotten into really the biomechanics of it. So we've got some training aids, we've got fitness, and now we've got now I'm putting out a lot of free videos. So for you listeners over there, I'm popping out a lot of free videos really discussing certain parts of the body biomechanically, and the feedback I'm getting. I've got 45,000 subscribers, and the feedback I get after launching a video or a blog post is just outstanding. So awesome. I know we're on the right track getting golfers. There's a lot of frustrated golfers out there, I'm telling you. Man.
I don't think a lot truly describes how extensive frustration is. So let's talk about biomechanics, a golf swing biomechanics. Explain that in layman terms for us and how we can incorporate that into our lives.
Well, when you think about the golf swing and you address the ball, you got your hand on the club, you're in your golf posture, all of a sudden when that club starts moving, it's joints, muscles, and bones that are moving that club, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so if even from, and I had a couple of faults that happened right in my takeaway where I cocked my wrist too early, lifted the club, and it created havoc in my golf swing. And that's a perfect example of biomechanics, which is you need to simplify the golf swing. There's so many moving parts in the golf swing, especially from a joint standpoint, that we need to actually cut a lot of that wasted movement and motion out of the golf swing. And that's the fun part about it is actually the word simple, and everybody wants a simple golf swing. They're tired of the 62-point checklist.
Yes.
So the whole idea is to realize, yes, certain joints bend throughout the golf swing, but they don't overly move. They don't manipulate. So anything that you consciously do to manipulate that golf club at any point in the golf swing is not going to ever allow you to hit a solid golf shot. Period. Is there, with the people that you have worked with, is there one thing that kind of jumps out at you as being kind of repetitive, that more and more people that you see, it's constant, that's the big issue in their movement? Well, I'll tell you, it's the one that I had. It's too active of hands. The hands, the hands are the only thing that grip the club, that hit that golf ball. And if those hands start getting loosey-goosey and wobbling all over the place and not, your grip should not be firm. So let's get that straight. But your wrists have to be in a certain position throughout the whole entire golf swing. The wrist cock is very basic, but a lot of people, roll the wrist in the takeaway. They cock it the wrong way, and all of a sudden now the club's sticking straight up in the air instead of on plane. So I would say overactive hands is a real common. I see that when the amateurs start sending me videos to analyze, which that we do that on the site as well now.
Oh, cool.
They send me videos. That one of the first things I see is the first foot of the takeaway. We got problems, which is their hands are getting too active too early.
I'm sitting here working on my swing, and I'm fascinated. I have a friend who I know his hands are way too active in the beginning because it's really interesting. I've had this one consistent problem with my wrists my entire life, and I'm not just talking about golf. When I was a little kid taking piano lessons, right, and I would lay my hands down on the thing, my piano teacher would lift my wrists up and says, level them out, don't hyperextend, right, with my fingers up in the air and my wrists down below. And then I became a desk jockey and was sitting at my desk and my computer all day long typing, and I started getting really bad elbow problems. Brought in, what's that person called? Ergonomic specialist, right? And they said, well, look at the way your hands are on your keyboard. Mm-hmm. You need to change the position of your keyboard. And again, it was my wrists were cocked back.
Yep.
And then one day I was working with a golf instructor. I did an interview or something, and I realized that at the top of my backswing, my wrist is, again, bent back instead of being... So that seems to be a constant issue with me my whole life.
Yeah. The wrists are... They should only move a certain way, and really there's not a lot of mobility in the wrists anyways, but they have to move in a certain way, especially coming down through impact. Man, I'm telling you, at impact to square that face, there's a certain move, and I took a lot of lessons in my day, and no disrespect to golf teachers that are listening, but I was never shown the proper way that hands move through impact, ever. And so even at a 6 handicap, I was not compressing the golf ball. I was not really, and I wasn't taking a real nice square divot after the ball. And then I started studying some video of, the better ball strikers on tour right now. You got the Hunter Mahans. Mm-hmm. You've got these guys that are really solid ball strikers. And I started doing video analysis, studying their swing in high speed. And I started looking at the right hand, what it does at impact. The left hand turns down. And I started seeing a common thread here, and I thought, I don't do that. And then I started going to the range and filming myself, and all of a sudden, I compressed the crap out of that poor golf ball now. So and again, after 15, 20 years of playing golf, I never knew what my hands biomechanically should do through impact. And I know for a fact 90% of high handicap golfers do not come through impact with the proper hand motion.
It seems to be a repeated theme recently on the podcast. I know that we talked with Dr. Joe Parent, and he gave this amazing tip of where, when we're talking about a compression, about where the bottom of your swing is, and that most high handicap golfers think that it's supposed to be about the bottom of your swing is about 2 inches behind the ball or at the ball, as opposed to an inch or two in front of the ball. Right? So that way you're coming down on the ball, hitting the ball, then the ground. And then, of course, Martin Chuck, Tour Striker, which you have on you promote Tour Striker on your site, don't you?
Sure do.
Yes, bet. I do. And to me, that more than any other training aid training tool I've ever used, really magnified how I'm not coming down on the ball.
Sure. Yeah. If you don't hit the ball with your hands ahead and that forward shaft lean with that Tour Striker, it's not going to be a pretty golf shot. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I know that you have it on your site, but we also have it on golfsmarter.com. So I'm going to promote mine. Okay.
There you go. Good for you. Good for you. Rightfully so.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great.
What about so the hands and the wrists? Okay, big issue for a lot of golfers. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what can they do to correct that? How can they recognize what's wrong with it, and what can they do to correct it?
Well, I'll give you kind of a feeling, and I think any golfer out there listening can be able to picture this. But if you're a right-handed golfer, your right hand, you've heard a lot of golf pros say covering the ball. So if you picture your right hand in that cocked position, and then as you come through impact, the palm of your right hand is going to rotate down and cover that ball. And if your left hand was on the grip as well, the left hand is going to turn down with it. What that's going to feel like is it feels like you're going to shut the face big time, and you're going to hit a big shot to the left. But it's not. If your hands are ahead, like what Martin talks about, if your hands are ahead and that right hand turns down on the golf ball, covers the golf ball.
I'm not sure what you mean by cover.
Okay, cover. Okay, so picture, like a high handicapper, he flips at the ball. Okay, he or she flips at the ball. So it's a premature release of your right wrist too early, and you flip at the ball. Okay,
yep.
So that would be hitting behind the ball.
And first, let me just throw into those people who recognize that they flip at the ball. There's different degrees on the club faces for a reason. Let the club do the work. Don't try to lift the ball up. Right.
Well, yeah. It's the loft on the club face,
sure,
right? I mean, you've got the loft, and the loft takes care of how high the ball goes, how far the ball goes. Right. No, so there should be no manipulation of trying to get it up in the air.
Right.
If anything, I don't like the term hit down, because then golfers are going to all of a sudden start plowing the club into the ground. But that would be an extreme, meaning that if somebody's really trying to pick it up and they're coming up at impact and they're flipping at it, then that person, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have that mindset for a little while of hit down on that ball. And then after a while, they might start overcooking it and hitting it kind of fat. And then they might even, God forbid, they might start feeling a little bit of pain in their left elbow, their wrist. When that starts happening, you've overcooked it. But with the right hand covering the ball, I'm just trying to think if you can even picture this, but it's a turning over of the right. I'm doing it right now as I'm talking. It's a turning over of the right hand, where picture bending down over the ball, and you're going to put your right hand right over the top of the ball. You're gonna cover that ball with your right hand. That exact position is what it should look like at impact, holding a golf club.
Okay, I got it, and that is an excellent visual, because on my swing, and again, the tourist record helped, but what I realize is that actually my right hand would be facing the ball.
Yep.
From my body, going straight out from my body, as opposed to what you're saying is when you're covering your hand, the palm of your hand should be facing down the target line.
The palm of your hand is on top of the golf ball. It is facing down to the ground, on top of, not facing the target line, down on top of that golf ball, and that's called covering or compressing the golf ball. And it really is. It's kind of like a turn down move. That's all. Here's another way to think about it too. I've done a video. Pardon me?
I mean, I'm trying to do this, and now my wrist, when I'm doing it in the way you're saying, my wrist seems to be cocked dramatically.
Your right wrist should be cocked back on itself. Okay?
Oh, okay, good. Okay,
it's cocked back on itself. But here's one thing I want you to think about. There's a video on my site. If people go to my site and sign up for my list, they'll get a video via email. You'll see exactly what it is. But picture. This is kind of a neat
What's
analogy.
the name of the video? Because I'm going to put a link to it on our show notes.
Ah, gosh.
What should we be looking for? All right, what should we be looking for?
It's how the hands release it in the golf swing, I think, is what it is. Something like that.
All right. You send me the link. You email me the link, and I'll make sure that it gets onto our golfsmarter.com.
Yeah, that's a YouTube video. But here's what I want you to think about. Okay, so picture screwing this is kind of interesting, screwing your right hand into the ground counterclockwise.
So you're screwing out.
And when you do that, look at the motion of your forearm. Mm-hmm. Watch how your elbow starts. Your right elbow starts extending and straightening, but you're screwing your hands counterclockwise through the golf ball. It's a real interesting concept. Huh. But what that does is, man, it compresses that golf ball, and it's a move that I am telling you, 99% of high handicap amateur golfers have never done in their life. It's counterintuitive because you think, no, I want the ball to go that way out to the target. And he's saying, turn my hand into the ball. But remember, you and I just spoke about the loft on the club takes care of all that. we want to make sure that we come down and compress the golf ball to where the ball rolls up the face of the club, and whatever loft we have, that's how far that ball is going to go, right? So our motion is this counterclockwise screwing into the ground with our right arm, and the left hand just turns down on itself where the palm's facing up on the left hand and the back of the left hand's turning down. When you watch any professional golfer, that is their hand motion. Again, it's a little bit odd to think of screwing into the ground. I want the ball to go, to my left towards the target, but that's the feeling that you need to get to know that your hand motion is correct biomechanically through impact.
I am totally baffled about the screwing down. You're saying from the top of the backswing down through the ball?
No. This is right at impact. This is coming down on plane.
Yep.
The right elbow gets in front of the right hip. You've basically completed your downswing. Your hands have gone past your right thigh, and just as your hands are passing the right thigh, your right hand, your top hand on the club, if you're a right-handed golfer, is just counterclockwise rotating into the ground towards that golf ball, and at the same time your right elbow is going to start extending as well. Now your right arm doesn't fully extend until after impact, but that whole motion, that whole kind of from the right elbow down through the wrist, that whole kind of counterclockwise screwing is happening just past the right thigh before impact.
I got it. Oh, now that makes a lot more sense to me.
Yeah. And again, it's counterintuitive because what I'm trying to explain for the listeners is that it feels like it's this motion that's going into the ground, but as we spoke a little earlier, it's the golf club compresses the golf ball runs up the face of the club, and depending on the loft of the club, it does what it does. Pitching wedge goes, 120 yards, whatever it is. So the motion is compressing down on the ball so that the ball runs up the club face.
Got it. All right, no, that makes a lot more sense to me. Thank you very much for explaining it as best you can, because I think you succeeded. There's some other things I wanted to get into with you here, and that would be you talk about longer drives. The biomechanics is going to lead to longer drives. Is that true? Or
yeah. I mean, obviously, the more efficient you can be biomechanically, or even if you can just use the word mechanically, which again is what? Technique. The more efficient you can be in any athletic movement, the more power you're going to produce.
Of course.
So same thing in golf, and it's just like what we're talking about. That key area of impact. That really is the golf swing, and that is the power in the golf swing. Now, granted, you've got core torque, from a bigger backswing. You've got club head speed, and you've got all those other elements that come into play that result in longer drives. But if you're not compressing the golf ball in the middle of your club face, you're losing, miles per hour on the ball. The smash factor, they call it a smash factor, which is the compression of the ball in the middle of the club face is much less ineffective. So the biomechanics in regards to longer drives, no question, comes into play. And obviously, the higher handicap has many swing faults happening throughout one golf swing, and the end result is an off-center glancing blow on the golf ball.
When you're talking about the hand movement, where they are, where it is, resulting in more efficiency in your mechanics, how is it that I've realized over time as I play golf that the things that I heard talked about didn't become clear to me until I really started feeling the nuance of swinging a golf club. And the more time I spend playing golf, the more time a lot of these things become clear to me. Mm-hmm. It's like I always heard, about getting a divot, and it took me not just years of playing golf, but it took me years of the podcast before I realized how to do that. Yep. And how to do that while I'm hitting the ball, and where to hit the ball, and how to hit so the turning of the unscrewing, I'm just going to call it that, the unscrewing of the hands, that part, getting more efficient. How can I think about that stuff? How can I get to that point as a recreational golfer who doesn't get a lot of time to practice, and not enough time to play, so I play more than I practice?
Well, I can tell you firsthand, doing things in your home. I'll tell you, ask my wife. I mean, we've got a couple of mirrors in the house. I've got golf clubs stationed by every mirror. so as I'm walking, I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. As I'm walking by a mirror, there happens to be a golf club right there. And I'll stop, grab the club, get a side view or front view or whatever I'm thinking about for that moment. I'll do a few little motions that I'm trying to work on, and then I continue walking through the house. So that's truly. I mean, it sounds a little obsessive, but
a little.
Yeah, right. So, but you can do things in your home.
Sounds like a golfer.
Yeah. So you can do things in your home, and that doesn't require going to a range. It doesn't require even hitting a golf ball, and that's why even I've got a select few, not very many, but a select few training aids on my site that I've personally reviewed and used, and most of those I use in my home. I don't even hit a golf ball with them. So what happens is they say that you have to repeat a movement 2,000 to 3,000 times to ingrain it. Okay, 2,000 to 3,000. Okay, well, obviously, to hit 2,000 or 3,000 golf balls would be, going to the range for the next 6 months for the average golfer because they don't have the time. But 2,000 to 3,000 if you're in your home, and several times in the evening you do 20 repetitions each time. Now that's 60 times an evening. Well, 60 times, 30 days in a month.
But you really need to have a club in your hand to do this.
It's
not really hard to ingrain something like that without a club in your hand.
Well, I disagree with that. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, some of the training aids I have are real small. They're 1 to 2 feet long, so that you can do a lot of. You're not going to break a lamp. You're not going to hit the ceiling because we all been there, right? Mm-hmm. Putting holes in the wall, breaking mirrors. Mm-hmm. But no, I agree that most of the time the club, you can see where the club face is. You can see that if the shaft is on plane. So I would say that a lot of drills you do in your home should be with a golf club. But if there's certain things you're working on, certain aspects of your swing, and there's maybe a training aid or a device you can use that isn't a club but that ingrains a certain feeling, then oh my gosh, I mean, you can speed up the learning process tenfold by doing it, repeatedly in your home every day.
Yeah. I don't I'm sorry. I don't know if I necessarily. I mean, I really think that I see the 2,000 to 3,000 swings and hitting something, to get that feedback, to know that if it's working or not, because just swinging without any feedback at all, and even slow motion swinging, even though the Tai Chi swing is really an awesome, effective tool, I guess that's how to ingrain it.
I mean,
so
when you think of any athlete, I did this when I was training for the Olympic Games in the decathlon. I mean, you do what they call drills. That's not the full thing. That's not, if I'm throwing the shot put, which is one of the events in the decathlon, I'm not throwing that thing every time. I'm getting in certain positions across the ring, the shot put ring. I'm doing certain motions with the left arm, the right arm. That's called doing drills, and every athlete does them. And that doesn't mean you have to complete the whole motion. And if anything, to ingrain a certain phase or element of a athletic motion, including the golf swing, you've got to do it repeatedly. So let's say the downswing, you got a golfer that's coming down steep. His shaft is real steep. Okay, well, going out and pounding balls is not going to improve that. No way, because he's not going to know where he's at in the golf swing. But if he gets in front of a mirror and starts feeling it, like, watching that mirror, feeling his hands, feeling his arms, feeling the joints move to be on plane, and he can see it in that mirror, so that's instant feedback. That's going to give him a heck of a lot more feedback than going pounding balls, not knowing where that club's at.
Yeah, okay, I buy it. Because I think it was a guy named, was it Jerome Bettis? He played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Yeah. And he's an avid golfer. And I remember seeing something with him once, and he said something that made so much sense to me, and you're just bringing it up in my mind because you are clearly an athlete at a high level. I mean, if you got to a point where you were training for the Olympics, forget about even thinking about it, but you were training for the Olympics in multiple sports, you really have to understand how to practice. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that Bettis said, the difference between his golf game and the average golfer is, he said, the average golfer doesn't understand the importance and how to practice.
Yeah.
They just go out there and every game is the game of their life.
Sure.
But they don't, like this guy he's now a retired athlete who had, enough money to retire at a reasonable age. And so he's able to go out and play 3-4 rounds of golf a week as practice. Mm-hmm. And then on Sunday, it's play day.
Sure.
Then he does it. So as somebody who has never been involved, I really, other than Little League when I was 9 years old, I never really was involved in organized sports. So I don't get that. I go out and every game that every round of golf for me is I'm trying to shoot my best. I'm not working on anything. I'm working on everything. Mm-hmm, now, I'm not going to speak for listeners here because I know that sometimes I'll say things and listeners will go, oh, come on, Fred. It's like if we found your show, we're really into this stuff. Don't downplay it. But there's also this element of I want to learn as much as I can about golf without having to practice as much as I can because I've got a busy life and I've got children and I got a job and I got a commute and I got, all these other things, life getting in the way of golf. I hate when that happens.
But one thing I'll say to that is that the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. So with that being said, I understand that most people are super, super busy and they can't get out. But if you lined up 100 golfers and you asked all 100 golfers, would you like to play better? They're all going to raise their hand. Sure. Okay. So now that we know that's a common thread, the second step would be how much are you willing to put into it to play better? Because golf, it's brutal to understand. Even, quote, at my athletic level, oh my gosh, I had so many swing faults that I could not fix. I still battle with them a little bit. And that's a guy that I know my body is good or better than anybody out there as far as how it moves. I've studied tens of thousands of golf swings, so I know what it looks like. But if you're not willing to put a little bit of time in, then I got to tell you, folks, you cannot expect a better result. It's just a fact of life. And what you said is where most golfers are at. They two different issues. They don't have the time, and truth be told, Fred, I've dealt with a lot of golfers in the last 15 years online. They don't want to put the time in. So either they don't have it or they don't want to put the time in. If those two things are there, then truly you cannot expect to get better. So if you're a 90 shooter, accept it. And if you drive the ball 230, 240, accept it, and that it is what it is. But if, in fact, you want to improve, you got to do something. Mm-hmm. You have to do something to improve. Tell any athlete, okay, you don't have to practice anymore, and your goal is we're going to get you better. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Right. It's so interesting because so frequently I'll get people sending me emails saying, oh, I'm new to the game and I'm just so excited and I'm determined to be scratched by the end of next year. It's like, okay, fine. And I have to remind people that golf is, even though I never played in organized sports, I played all sports as a kid, but it's so frustrating because it is not only the hardest sport I've ever played, but it's also, it's like, don't expect that you're going to get better every time you go out. It just doesn't work that way. Mm-hmm. And personally, I have broken 80 3 times in my golf career. Yeah, I'm very excited.
Nice.
But I haven't done it in about 4 or 5 years. And I'm like, come on, I've gotten to 80 3 or 4 times.
Oh yeah.
But I've not broken that barrier in a long time. And with all this talking that I do all the time and all these things that I learn and the nuances, and I'm still like, come on.
Well, in any given day, look at the pros, right? Look at Tiger Woods not making the cuts. You got the best athlete / best golfer, not anymore, but in the world who's missing cuts now. And look what he's doing with the swing. And his pre-shot routine before every shot, it's over the top to swing to the left move, all the stuff he's doing. And so, it goes to show you that on any given day, you don't know what golfer is going to show up to the course.
Yep.
That's number one for sure. And then number two, you've got conditions. Mm-hmm. Is it windy? Is it rainy? Is it cold? Is it whatever? So you throw all that into play, that's going to affect your outcome. And then, your mental, right? Did you rush to the course? Did something stressful happen before it just goes on. The list gets forever. So, golf is, oh my gosh, it's
Well,
the most frustrating thing ever.
I'm laughing because that's why I have a very difficult time and rarely play for money. Because to me, I'm competing against so many things as it is. I'm competing against the weather. I'm competing against the terrain. I'm competing against the lie. I'm competing against each club. I'm competing against my brain. And now you want to put money in it? Are you kidding me? Now I'm really going to freak out. You know, being self-employed, as you know, every morning you wake up, you're gambling.
Yeah.
And you don't have that room to do that.
Yeah, to play for money is not.
No,
that's not a healthy thing. If you've done it, for years, and you got a group of guys that you're used to doing it with,
that's fine.
That's one thing. But I know I get invited to money games all the time, and I'll tell you,
I can't do it.
100% of the time, I say no. I say, hey, I'll take a pass. You guys have fun.
Right. My club maker. He had me fill out a long form before I started working with him. He had like 101 questions I had to answer before he would start working with me to make clubs. And one of them was, do you play for money? And so he was reviewing my questions, zipping through them, and all of a sudden he goes, you don't play for money? I went, no. And he goes,
like you're the minority.
Right. And he said, then why do you play?
Oh,
I'm like, okay, we won't talk about that. So I do want to I want to get this wrapped up here, and I appreciate all your time here, and especially recording this over 2 days. I recently received a question from a listener who gives his name as Botello, and he's in Denver, Colorado. And the timing of it was perfect because I knew that you and I were going to speak, and he said, I've been away from the game of golf for quite some time and wanted to know how a golfer should, quote, get back into the swing of things. Now, he says his golf buddies keep telling him, technology, buy new sticks, technology. But he likes his old ping set and, graphite shafts. Botello, you may want to get new shafts depending on how old they are. You definitely want to get new grips depending on how long they've been sitting in your garage. And they're also saying that his spike tool is... his wrench is even too old. So there's a lot of dust and cobwebs on his things. But I think that more cobwebs are probably going to be in his body, and he should really concentrate on getting that in condition before he's even worrying about the ball dropping into the hole. Do you have any advice for someone like this who's trying to get back into the game and what they can do physically to help?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, you got to go to the range and you see what you got. That's step number one. I mean, outside of conditioning and stretching and all that, you got to go, to the range, see what you got. Just kind of feel what your body's doing, sense what it's doing. And one thing I tell a lot of golfers is when they're hitting a golf ball, especially if I get emails all day, every day, pain here, pain there, pain everywhere, and I say, okay, well, next time you go hit, I want you to really get inside your body, and as you're swinging and hitting a ball, there might be a sensation, there might be a pinching feeling, there might be a tight feeling, or there might be pain at certain points. And you can start narrowing down what's causing that pain in your golf swing, even without being a biomechanic, even without having a teaching pro. If you get in your body and instead of thinking of if you're at the range, instead of thinking of the result of, hey, did I hit that one straight, long, where'd it go? Think of your body for a second. So when you hit that ball, are you experiencing pain? Are you experiencing pain at impact? If it's at impact, is it a wrist? Is it a knee, a hip, lower back, whatever it may be? And then from there, take a look at the position your body's at. Kind of slow down a little bit and say, wow, my hips, they seem all kind of jammed up, and then, boy, that back hurts right there on that lower right side. Well, your hips aren't clearing. Your hips aren't rotating. So you can kind of do it. But I would say if you're getting back into the swing of things, I mean, you truly have to go to the range at least one time and just casually, leisurely hit some balls just to kind of see what you got, see how your body responds to it. And then typically the next day, you'll know from a conditioning standpoint if you got something wrong, if the hamstrings are really sore or tight, if a certain joint is really sore or tight. And then from there, then you can start getting into more specific things to do stretching and strength-wise. But really, until you hit balls and see how your body responds to it, that would be a hard question for me to answer, unless I saw his golf swing and all that good stuff. But you hit balls first, and then kind of see how your body feels, and then the next day, the infamous next day, how do you feel that next day? Is something tight? Is something hurting? Do you feel? Then you'll know kind of where to proceed from there.
Stretch before, stretch afterwards.
Oh yeah,
And,
dynamic movement stretching, where you're doing some like toe touches before you hit the balls. You're doing the club behind the back of your neck and just doing some rotations that stretch out your back and your core. And yeah, you definitely don't want to ever go to a range and just start hacking balls. No way. You got to do a few little movements like I just mentioned that kind of at least get the body somewhat prepared to hit a golf ball.
Oh, you mean you shouldn't start with your driver? After you've been away from the game for 10 years?
And I'll tell you, Fred, and I'm sure you've seen it, and I've seen it. I can't count how many times I've seen some guy go pull out the big stick, start hacking away, and all of a sudden he's reaching down, grabbing his lower back. He's grabbing a hip joint. Oh, boy.
Right, and then he goes, okay, I'm ready. Let's go, guys.
Oh, God. Unbelievable.
I know. It's kind of funny. It's sad, but it's kind of funny, too.
Golfers are crazy guys, I'm telling you.
Yep. Wow. So, Mike, please share with us one more time your YouTube channel.
It's youtube.com/Mike Pedersen Golf Tips. And it's Pedersen spelled Pedersen. I don't know if you want to just put a link on your website as well, but it's YouTube, www.youtube.com/Mike Pedersen Golf Tips, all strung together.
And I will definitely put the link to the YouTube video that you have on our blog from today's show.
That would be really helpful for people.
Oh, absolutely. And because it is a members-only show, I will make sure that the people who don't hear the whole podcast, unless they become members, they will still be able to see that YouTube video. I'll see if I can even get that posted on our site. I'm going to try. I've never been able to figure out how to do that. But anyway. So, best of luck to you, Mike. It's great to speak with you again. I'm glad we've reconnected. I wish you all the luck in the world. And thanks again for being on the Golf Smarter podcast.
And thanks for having me, Fred. And you have a great day.